waging war on corruption. It's Alex Jones.
Look at your young men fighting.
They wanted to interview me about 2 years ago for a film called The Fall of America. It's 9 discs. They have a 10th disc that when you order it, the website is fallofamerica.net. We'll put that up on screen for everybody. But they set out to make a film about something completely different. But in their research, every expert they talked to, not just myself or Dr. Paul Craig Roberts and countless others, told them that a collapse was coming. So they were making this long before the collapse began, and it's now been out for about a year. And it is a survival guide, how to protect you, your loved ones from financial Armageddon, government tyranny, the destruction of the middle class, and the end of freedom. What if, in the fictional movie The Road, people around the country had seen an important compendium, a survival guide like The Fall of America and the Western World? Gentlemen, it's good to have you on with us. Fire out your website for folks.
Thanks for having us back, Alex. Always good to hear your voice. The website is www.thefallofamerica.net. That's thefallofamerica.net. And that's where they can get the 10-hour DVD box set called The Fall of America and the Western World.
Well, it's an incredible compendium of information. Tell folks, before we get into how you made the film and the journey of discovery it took you on, and where you see this country and the world right now, as they admit now we're going into a depression, and some of the folks that are in the film, gentlemen.
Well, it was, when Bob and James Petula, our other partner, when we started out to make this film pre-economic collapse, we were just setting out to make a movie on what it would like to be living in a post-9/11 world. We went and talked to as many experts and notables as we could get to talk to us. And these are, everyone from yourself, Alex Jones, to the father of Reaganomics, Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, the NYU professor Mark Crispin Miller. We spoke to Doug McIntyre, the historian, the eminent economist, Doug Casey. We spoke to these notables, Naomi Wolf, and we were interviewing them, just asking them about, hey, what would it be like to live in a post-9/11 world? And one word or one phrase kept coming up as we were interviewing people, and that was, hey, you guys know America is not going to collapse. It's in the process of collapsing. Now, again, these are notable experts on the economy, on government. And when they said this, we said, well, what do you mean it's in the process of collapsing? And I'll never forget it. The eminent economist, Doug Casey, who's also a supporter of Ron Paul, he looked at us and said, oh, we're in inning 3 of a 9-inning Greater Depression. He said, look around. Now, this was before the economic collapse. Since then, we've seen things that I think are, and I think your viewers, your audience and viewers and yourself would agree are unprecedented, Alex. Bank failures, Wall Street's collapse, the socialist takeover of the American private sector. And this is not, by the way, just in America. We don't have enough time to go into what's happening everywhere. But look what's happening in Spain, Portugal, and Greece. And so anyway, we looked and we listened and we realized, oh my gosh, America is in inning 2 or 3 of a collapse. And it's our duty as patriots, as Americans, and as just good people who care about ourselves and our families. It's our duty to create a survival guide. And so that's what we did with The Fall of America and the Western World. It's more than just a documentary, Alex. It's really a 10-disc survival guide with over 150 actionable tips that people can do starting today, starting right now, because we only have a 2 or 3 year window, I believe, if that, to get our house in order. And by the house, I mean there's things we need to be doing, questions we need to be asking ourselves, people we need to be talking to. Not to least of we need to be talking to our families, our friends, our pastors, our rabbis, our preachers.
Because just a few years ago, most of them would laugh at us. Now they're not laughing. Now they're listening. And especially when you can show them a compendium documentary like this, where you guys made the film and then it all started to come true because you were talking to the leading minds, the leading experts that understood what was happening. And that's what people should go to, thefallofamerica.net, and they need to get this compendium. And it's very affordable. You guys spent a lot of money making this. What does it come out to, about $6, $7 per disc when you get the compendium?
When you get the compendium, that's right. It's really very affordable. We tried our best to keep it as low as possible. It's $79.99, which is about $7 or $8 per disc. But also there's literature in there. We also would invite people. So yeah, it's a very respectable price. We would invite people though, Alex, to go to our website. Look, let's get real, folks. This is 2010. Okay? We're not living in 1998 or 1988 anymore. This isn't fear-mongering. This is truth-mongering. This is a reality check. It's 2010. We've all lived through things we thought would never be possible. Let's start with 9/11, right? Then let's talk about bank failures. Let's talk about the largest Wall Street failure in the history of our country. The socialist bailout, right? The further destruction of our dollar, hyper-globalism.
Well, they now admit in this Secret America report in the Washington Post that 854,000 private corporate spies with the highest security level. What's scary is this is a designed corporate takeover. Just like bankers want the family farm to go bankrupt, they don't want the loan back, they want the property. This is being done by design, but if we're aware of it, it's going to lessen how bad it gets, A, and B, if people are educated, we can then bring these culprits to justice, and your film also covers that.
I would agree, Alex.
Yeah, let's go to Robert Dinozzi. I've been talking to Brian, correct, because I recognize your voices.
Alex, good to talk to you. You know, you hit the nail on the head when you talk about corporations. When we set out to make this 9-DVD series, when it became that, we all looked at each other and we talked about how we had friends and family, kind, intelligent, caring people, but they were so caught within the false paradigm of the conservative, liberal, split and so forth, that trying to introduce the larger picture to them was like trying to extract them from a hall of mirrors. Everywhere they turn, everything is explained away within the dominant propaganda system. And that's really why we set out to make this. How can we cut through that and give people a larger perspective? Because anytime we would introduce something or you talk to your friends and family, a lot of your listeners know this. People go, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist or you're a gloom and doomer or whatever the case may be. Well, one of the things that we try to do with this project is introduce a new language that you can use to talk to your friends and family. Most people don't argue the point that the same elite who sit on the boards of directors and run major corporations are the same elite that sit in key government positions and run our political universe. So why would you expect the elite who run multinational corporations to want to run a government any differently? And what do corporations want? They want no borders. They want to be above the law. They don't want to be subject to court. They want powerless workers who work cheap. And they don't want democracy in the workplace. They want constant surveillance. They want private security and private intelligence. And so when you start to look at it that way, the things around us start to make a lot more sense. And that's why we made this.
And Robert, your film crystallizes that perfectly. And now there's no more denying. The New World Order is a private global corporate government above the law that then passes laws to extract our wealth and enslave us. And they openly say they're doing this, and that's what your film covers.
Exactly. I saw the propaganda machine at work. It's just a great example. I had seen, this is about 2007, right when we got underway with this. And I saw a fund manager on CNBC, and he actually mentioned the Amero as a coming currency. And that caught traction, and it kind of went viral, and people started talking about it, and it was a search term. And I told my dad, I said, see, Dad, there is this thing called the Amero. There will be a North American currency to replace our dollar. And not a week later, a full-page hit piece in the Boston Globe connecting the idea of the Amero to conspiracy fears and, apocalyptic anxieties.
And now it's all over the news that they have a new cashless global currency called the SDR. and we're going to be forced to pay carbon taxes to fund these private bankers. Now the world government's not being denied.
That's right. And Alex, you bring up a good point. This is Brian again. You bring up a great point, fighting these people. And I would say the best way to fight someone first is to make sure that your house is in order. How are you going to fight someone if you don't have food on your table? How are you going to fight someone if you don't have the means to protect yourself at home or your family?
You're not just going to not be able to fight them politically. You're going to be dependent on them.
That's right, which is what they want. So our film, really, The Fall of America, really is about becoming self-reliant. It's about getting off the grid. It's about asking tough questions of yourself and your family. What would you do, for example, if the power grid failed? What would you do if there were no food on the supermarket shelves?